Welcome to Perspective Drawing, how to draw forms within a space. When we draw our environment, we need to look at four things. Those four things are the four parts of a landscape. Every livable space has a foreground, middle ground, horizon line, and background. In order to draw those livable spaces, we use a system called one-point perspective. Part of one-point perspective includes a vanishing point, which is a point where all the diagonal lines meet. It also includes the four areas of space, which are the horizon line, which is an imaginary line where the earth meets the sky, the foreground, objects that are in front of a picture. The bottom of these objects are close to the bottom of your paper. The middle ground, or the area where objects are in the middle of the picture, and the bottom of these objects are between the foreground and the horizon line. And lastly, the background. In this area, objects are in the back of the picture. They can be above or slightly below the horizon line. Perspective drawing is the mathematical process of creating the illusion of a three-dimensional area or surface on a two-dimensional plane. Look at the image to the right. See how the city street looks realistic. People appear to be walking down the street, sitting at tables, and the buildings appear to be small as they go back into the distance. There are three ways to create this illusion of space using perspective drawing. The first one is overlapping. When an artist overlaps objects, we can tell where they're positioned within the space. For example, look at the image to the left. There are buildings that are overlapping one another. Can you tell what building is closest to you, or which buildings are farthest away? Two, the size of objects also creates the illusion of space. Objects that are closest to us appear to be larger than objects that are farther away. Lastly, the placement of objects is important. Placing objects within the foreground makes them appear as though they're in the front, whereas objects that are closer to the horizon line or background appear as though they're farther away. Filippo Brunelleschi was a Renaissance artist during the 1400s, and he discovered how to use this system of drawing to create the illusion of space. Today, it is called linear perspective. Okay, so in the last video, they briefly discussed how Brunelleschi figured out how to use lines and a series of points to create perspective. He used a mirror in his drawing of the baptistry in Florence in order to figure out what parts of his drawing were incorrect, what parts were right. If you've ever at home used a mirror to look behind you, that's exactly what he did. He poked a hole through the painting or the artwork, and then through looking through the artwork into the mirror and standing with his back to the baptistry, he was able to figure out the system of drawing. In this video, we're going to watch step by step how to create an interior of a room using the method that he uses and the parts of the perspective drawing that he created. I'm just going to minimize this and move on.